news on YourIowa.com is brought to you by the Commission on U.S. Territories, striving for equal representation around the globe, and by Keep Iowa First, committed to keeping the Iowa caucuses the first in the nation contest in selecting the presidency of the United States. And now, here's your host, Brent Roske.
Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, a chilly Thursday here back in the Midwest. Single digits right now. I think we're at 4 degrees. It seems impossible. I tell people we live in the freezer here. Up on the screen right now, that is a teaser for the ABC series The Chase. That guy right there with the bow tie is Brad Rutter. He is the greatest of all time in game shows. That's right. He's won the most money of any game show contestant in television history. True story. And Brad's going to be right here on this program in just a couple minutes. Do you believe it? Our humble little show here from the Midwest. We're so grateful to Brad for being on the program. Next week, my friend Steven Adams produced this film, Rodney King, on Netflix, amongst other projects. This project was directed by Spike Lee. He also did a Huey P. Newton story with Spike Lee. Steven Adams, producer, is going to be on this program as part of our ongoing series honoring Black History Month. If you missed Monday, Deborah Willis, Black Civil War Soldier, is her new book. My copy is literally in the mail. You're going to want to check that out. If you haven't seen it, it's posted right now. Tomorrow, live from West Africa, Bonnie Louise Brown. There she is with her family, born and raised here in Iowa, went to Drake University. She is a social justice advocate here. She's been over there visiting family. She just emailed me saying she's extended her stay there. She's going to be at a coffee shop tomorrow so she can have good hookup with us. Again, part of our Black History Month, but we're not going to stop to be Black History Month. All year long is going to be a Black History Year on this program. But we're going to be talking about that statue she's standing next to there. Couldn't be more excited to have Miss Brown on the program tomorrow. Gina Belafonte, there she is with her father, Harry Belafonte. They run a group called Sankofa.org. I've known Gina for several years now, and she's always kind enough to be a part of projects that I'm doing. So she is going to be on this show the last week of this month, celebrating Black History Month. And next week, there he is, newly elected chair of the Iowa Democratic Party, state representative, Ross Wilburn. And of course, he's standing there next to our vice president. He was on the senior advisor to the Kamala Harris Iowa campaign. And obviously, she's had a great year in politics herself. So excited to have Mr. Wilburn with us next week, as well as Dr. Franz Whitfield is the pastor of Mount Carmel Baptist Church up in Waterloo. And if you missed yesterday, excuse me, Christina Anthony, she's the one in the yellow top right there. The cast of ABC's hit show Mixed Dish was on. So many guests, and I couldn't be more grateful. It's truly my pleasure to chat with folks. Some good news about COVID. You don't hear that very often. This morning, Axios reported that coronavirus cases continued their sharp decline last week. And they're saying a 24% decline from the week before. Hospitalizations were also down by about 8%, and deaths fell by 3%, which is not a great number, but we like to talk about good news whenever we can. We don't shy away from real stories on this program, but some good news about coronavirus. Could it be that it's simply too cold outside for people to go outside? We're sheltering a bit more. Could that be helping as well? But we want to stay safe. We want to wear our masks out there if we can, folks. Monday is President's Day. Look up here on the screen. We've got the producer of The West Wing, 5 seasons he was on, and former Al Gore speechwriter Eli Addy is going to be on the program. There he is. That top photograph is him with Al Gore. He was Al Gore's speechwriter when he was just a young guy. Look at that photograph. And then the photo below, that's him during West Wing heyday there. Allison Janney, Mayor McCormick, Bradley Whitford. In that photograph. But Mr. Eli Addy will be with us on Monday, celebrating a special President's Day here on the program, along with Karen Derry is going to be on the program as well, former Iowa State Representative Karen Derry is going to be with us on this program. But without further delay, let's bring him up. Our first guest is actually Shawn Boyd, and there he is all the way from New Mexico. Thanks for being on this morning, Shawn.
Hey, thank you. Really glad to be here.
So I knew that, Shawn, that you were born and raised in Minnesota, as am I. We are Minnesota brethren, as it were. But you live in Santa Fe. I love Santa Fe. Tell folks about Santa Fe and what brought you out there.
Well, yeah, Santa Fe is a big, small town is what I like to think of it as, because I think it's about 82,000 people as of the last census. And yet it has all of these things that really shouldn't have in a town that size. It has lots of museums, lots of art and culture and restaurants and stuff like that. So it's kind of unexpected. Being in the high desert, it's about 7,200 feet. So you definitely notice that when you go hiking and stuff, but it's great because at 7,200 feet, you've got pine trees and stuff in the mountains. So it's really sort of unexpected being from Minnesota. This is not what I expected the Southwest to be like at all.
Yeah, it's chilly down there. I directed a lot of commercials for the Buffalo Thunder Resort out there. I spent a lot of time in Santa Fe. It's beautiful. Now, up on the screen here right now, Winona, Minnesota. If you're a Minnesotan like I am and Shawn is, you know about Winona. And this is one of Shawn's many projects. You saw there on the shot of Shawn a second ago. He's got some more of these illustrations up. But this is one of your current projects right now, and I love it. Winona Forever. Why don't you tell people what we're looking at?
Yeah, Winona Forever is a 4-part graphic novel. So what you're looking at is pages from part 1 of the full book. Really what the book is it's in one way a tribute to my hometown of Winona, Minnesota. As you're seeing there's the Mississippi Queen on the river. There's, an imagining of what the town looks like. There are actually some real specific buildings in there that are real to Winona and stuff, but we idealized some of it. But anyway, it's a graphic novel. And what happened for me was I wrote this as a screenplay about a year ago. And as COVID hit, I started thinking, screenplays are hard to get produced in any environment, let alone during a major pandemic. Probably the sale of screenplays, the making of movies is going to slow down a little bit. And indeed it has. So I thought, well, how do I keep moving forward? And I thought, well, wait a minute. A graphic novel is a visual story, much like a movie. What if I reimagined it as a graphic novel? And so that's what I did during COVID, is this.
And the title, folks, I recorded an album live at the Viper Room. Winona Forever was a tattoo by Johnny Depp. And when they split up, he got it changed to be Wino Forever. I used to, when I directed commercials, I don't know if I did at the Buffalo Thunder shirt, but for years I wore a T-shirt that said "Free Winona" when she was arrested for shoplifting. So when I saw the title of your project, I'm like, oh, okay, we're in the Vulcan mind meld here. I love it. So you're making so talk about this. You've run a Kickstarter on this that blew up. You raised a bunch of money real quick. Obviously people can see why. These are great illustrations, a great project. So it's what is the where would you like to see this, a graphic novel, movie? What's the final product?
Yeah. So I just love that it's getting out there, as you said, via Kickstarter right now. People can actually find it if you search on Kickstarter for Winona Forever. You can support it and get a copy. And you'll be in the, on the inside, you'll know when the other serials release. But anyway, yeah, I would love to see it as a movie. It was always a movie in my head. Although, it's funny. Then once you see it in a different realm, you're like, oh, of course, this is exactly what it should have been. It's probably not unlike when you read a book and then you see the movie, you're never really that happy with it because you only saw it as this thing first, right? So I would love to see it as a movie, but I'm just thrilled to be able to get it out there and for people to read it. That was my whole point. I've never really done a project that I've been so excited for people to get it in their hands and enjoy as this book.
In that genre, we can see now better some illustrations behind you. That genre of kind of the teenager. I mean, it's Goonies. It's so much fun. It's Stranger Things, and boy, do those projects when they go so big.
Yeah.
Talk about that genre. I mean, to me, it's some of the magic of growing up is seeing films like that.
Yeah. So you nailed a few things exactly right. Everything basically. So yes, it's a little bit of Goonies and Stranger Things is, for today's kids, what they would know, mixed with sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark and a little bit of Da Vinci Code. So to explain what that is, it's kids on an adventure to find a supernatural relic that they need to save something that they love. So that's really the heart of the story is these four kids and trying to, they're in over their heads trying to find this relic because there's also a secret society that wants the relic and they'll do anything to get it. So there's, that hint of danger there. What I love about the graphic novel genre is I came to it really late in life, like in the last couple years, because I always thought, oh no, that's something for kids, comics and all this is for kids. And I have been sorely mistaken. I've been wondering what I've been missing all these years, because I would say some of the best literature that is being done today is being done in this area. So if you're not familiar with graphic novels, definitely dive in, because there are some very adult stories, things that I would put up there with some of the best literature of today. And it isn't just for kids. There are those that are for kids, and then there's plenty that are for adults. So it's really thrilling to get into this arena.
So I love on the cover of the book here, you can actually read that it's the yearbook and you've drawn over it. I love that. You use the materials at hand. You could just imagine these kids. No, this is now Winona Forever. And little, you see that it's the St. Stanislaus Middle School.
Correct.
Yeah. And you can see one of the kids is wearing the shirts. I mean, things like that. But you talk about the graphic novel. What you're actually doing is you're making the shooting script in a way. And when you go out to market with this, the more connections you can make from A to Z, from thought to finished product. And when I start a lot of projects, I make the one sheet first, the poster, and that just helps the marketing. Is this something that we can direct eyeballs to? Graphic novel is that times 100. You're really just showing producers that there's a solid vision here. It's going to keep attention. And I think this is a great project. I could see this going all the way, buddy.
Thanks, Brent. I really appreciate that. It delights me that you're noticing all of those little details that I put a lot of thought and just a lot of heart into. That St. Stanislaus Middle School was my middle school. None of the events in there are real. Everything is fictionalized. None of the characters are people that I knew. But there was that I needed to put a reality in it for me. There needed to be some touchstones like that, and to the thing you mentioned earlier about Winona Forever and the tattoo. Yeah, there was definitely that entered in my thinking, because Winona Ryder is from Winona, Minnesota. She was born there. My understanding is she only lived there for about a year, was born there, lived there for a year, and then they moved away for warmer climes to California. But she, in my mind, as a teenager there, and as an adult, she was always someone that was like, oh, you could be from this small town and go out in the wide world and do something. So she's definitely part of the graphic novel. I don't want to ruin too much by saying anything more about it, but there's definitely her spirit's definitely in there.
Interesting. A friend of mine produced a movie she's in. Maybe I'll send this interview over to him.
Oh, that's super cool. She's amazing. Yeah, she's amazing. What else?
Oh, I love it. Well, that's great. That's great. I like chatting with folks who are enjoying the entertainment industry. A lot of people, oh, it's so this, that, and the other thing. I mean, I was in it solely for 17 years and now get to dabble in things like this. And that pretty much brought you out to Santa Fe, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. So yes, I'm also an actor and screenwriter, and I've been in some TV shows and movies and such. If you check me out on IMDb, you can find that out. But yeah, I was in LA for 5 years, and I did enjoy my experience there. I met a lot of great people, grew a lot. I met my wife there. But then there just came a point I was ready, and my wife and I were ready for something new. and just felt like let's try something new. And an opportunity came up to caretake someone's property in New Mexico. So that lured us out because it was sort of a no risk venture. So we just jumped in. The film and TV industry here was booming, and it's boomed even further now. So tons of things are, being filmed here these days. And so it's a real fruitful place to be for that. And there's a great creative community growing, and, has always been here with the art too. So we love it.
It's really interesting. So Netflix is basically building and built part of it, and it's building more their own city basically out there. They're filming just everything out there right now. And if you looked at the Golden Globe nominations, we did a little special on it. We've got Golden Globe winner Sally Kirkland's going to be on the night of the awards on this program, but they just got 39 nominations. Netflix did. And the next down was like Amazon, and then HBO, that used to be the big king, is way in the back. It's just unbelievable.
No, it really is. I mean, I wouldn't have predicted that either. And I remember, 4 or 5 years ago, there was somewhat of a snicker about Netflix in those awards conversations, I felt like, because people saw they were throwing so much money into it, and so they were producing so many things, and they were getting a scant number of awards. And then it just flipped, like you said, this year. I mean, it's incredible. They're really dominating, and I think it's well deserved. They're producing really good work. They tell great stories.
And you mentioned that a lot of this project came from the heart from you. We had a guest on last week, and she said, when it comes from the heart, it speaks to the heart. And a lot of Netflix projects right now, they're being able to indulge in artistic things and not just to make a buck, because they have a different business model. Our first guest on this program was Oscar winner Brian Fogel. He won the Oscar for Icarus, which you can watch on Netflix, and that was their first Academy Award. I think it's probably going to be their first of many. So well done, smart play, and best of luck with Winona Forever. There it is again. I think it's great, man. I want to see it. I hope it happens.
Thank you. I'll make sure you get to read it.
I love it. All right, folks. Well, we're gonna take a 15-second break, and then we're gonna be back with Brad Rutter. He is the winningest contestant in game show history of all time. Do you believe it? Isn't that crazy, Shawn? Like, he's the one.
No, that's incredible. I wouldn't have been able to name who that is, and this guy has made a life of it. That's phenomenal.
He's now hosting on the show The Chase, which is a new game show on a series on ABC. You're going to check that out. And a quick shout out to Megan Hensley for mentioning Mr. Boyd to me so we could have him on today. So Megan Hensley, her film Nina of the Woods, wanted to give a shout out to them. But folks, quick break, back with Brad Rutter.
There's a new spin on casual dining near Drake University. Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers. Craveable faves, flatbreads, delicious burgers, frozen cocktails, and crazy cool vibes. Get to Lucky Horse Beer and Burgers today.
Every morning, millions of Americans are joined together by a simple act. They get up,
welcome back to
and they go to work. They do it without fanfare, without complaint, when times are easy and when times are hard. And right now, times are indeed hard. Because this morning, there were also millions of Americans who didn't go to work. We're hurting, we are mourning, and we are struggling. At times, it can feel like we've never been more separate from one another, in more ways than one. But we can change that. And we will. Because we can choose to see that we've been connected all along. Connected by a love for this country. By a continual drive to improve upon it. Connected by the shared dignity, the quiet respect of an honest day's work. Yes, this morning, millions of Americans woke up and they went to work. And we did too.
To the program. I am grateful to all of our guests who take time out of their day to join us. And today I'm just especially tickled to be joined by Brad Rutter, referred to with good reason as the greatest of all time, the most winningest contestant in American game show history. Brad, thanks so much for being on the program today.
My pleasure. Nice to see you.
So that is quite the moniker to have. Why don't you just give some sort of idea, give folks an idea of what that means, what it stands for, and what you've been able to accomplish?
Well, it basically came from going on Jeopardy every 5 years or so for about 20 years now, and winning all their all-star tournaments, with the unfortunate exception of the last one, which happened to be the one that was on prime time and everybody saw. So it's near $5 million at this point, which would have blown my mind. Like I watched Jeopardy since I was a kid, and always kind of thought I should maybe get on the show. But if you would have ever told me I would do that well, I would have said you were crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that people don't, they've maybe heard your name, they've maybe heard that you've won the most, but you didn't win just once. You won, how many times have you won now?
Oh, let's see. So I was originally on back in 2000 when they made you retire after 5 games too. So I didn't get to go on one of those runs where, pardon the interruption is talking about you or something like that. But then, so I came back in for the 2001 Tournament of Champions, and I won that. That's the tournament they have every year. Then, if you remember, that was when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was huge with Regis on ABC primetime all the time. And I think Jeopardy kind of felt they were having their trivia thunder stolen by Regis a little bit. So they decided to have a $1 million Masters tournament at Radio City Music Hall in 2002, and I won that. Then there was the Ultimate Tournament of Champions after Ken's run in 2005, and I won that. Then there was the Watson thing, which I don't want to talk about. Then there was the Battle of the Decades in 2011, and I won that. And then there was the Jeopardy All-Star Games in 2019, and my team won that. So that's a 20-year history of going back and sort of collecting a check every 5 years or so.
I was watching some tapes in preparation for this interview, and I'm going to let you tell this, but when people would say, what was going through your mind or what kind of preparation was going into it, you had a really interesting frame of mind when they said, well, are you going to win? How are you going to do? And all that sort of thing. What was that people would see in those videos? What would you go into it thinking?
Well, yeah, that's, I remember watching Ken when he was winning all those games. And from the very opening of the show, you would see the other 2 contestants. And obviously they'd been told backstage that Ken had won, 30 or 40 games or whatever it was at that point. And you could tell that they just, they were checked out. They had no chance. They knew they were going to lose. And that never made any sense to me, because every time I show up on anything, my mindset is, well, somebody's going to win this. Why not me? And granted, that's a little harder when you're facing like a 50-time returning champion. But I kind of, on the opposite end, I saw that in Emma Betcher when she came out to play James. She was like, all right, I'm going to see what I can do against this guy. And she ended up beating him. So it's mindset as much as anything else, I think.
That's your version of what the great Wayne Gretzky quote, you miss, or you don't get 100% of the shots you don't take. Yeah, yours is like, what? Why shouldn't I be the winner? That just came to you, huh? Have you always been an optimistic person?
I guess so. Yeah, and I don't even know if that's bad optimistic, really. It's just not being pessimistic.
Oh, interesting. Well, you're in Los Angeles right now. So, one thing else I read about you is, this has basically been your vocation. Is this an ongoing training? Do you stay up to date on things? How do you stay fresh?
Well, it's sort of, I think you kind of have to have the trivia brain to do well at stuff like this, and also sort of the personality where I remember as far back as I can remember, since I was a little kid, I just enjoyed knowing things and enjoyed learning interesting facts. So I read a lot. I watch a lot of documentaries and stuff. So I guess I'm sort of preparing that way all the time, but it doesn't really seem like preparation because I would kind of do it anyway. But that said, if I know I'm going to be on Jeopardy, there's certain things they like to ask about, like presidents and world capitals and stuff like that. So there are finite lists there that you can memorize and know that there's a decent chance that they'll come up. But actually, for my new show, The Chase, one thing I have been making a big effort to keep up with is sort of current top 40 music, which I would never listen to otherwise. I'm a Gen X old guy, and I still listen to stuff from like the 90s and before mostly. So that's been the thing I've kind of had to put the greatest effort into keeping up with.
I mean, that's just plain old study and work. You know, look, I think I'm a couple years older than you are, but yeah, music for me pretty much stopped about 2003. I think I still buy Bruce Springsteen's new releases. That's about as current as I get. But yeah, sitting down and trying to ingest music, that sounds like a taxing experience to me.
Yeah, it's tough to figure out what's the difference between Lil Baby and Da Baby. Like they're both huge. But yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, you got me there. So interesting. So when you started this, you were first on the program 2 decades ago, for goodness sakes. Was there any moments of, maybe I just hang up my hat right now, I've got a good wave going, why break it? Or were you just like, I'm going to keep going on as long as they let me?
I'll be on Jeopardy whatever they ask me. Just it's so much fun. That's the biggest thing, and the crew and everybody who works there it's been on for 35 years, so it's down to a science. Everything runs really smoothly. They know what they're doing, which is not the case on other game shows I've been on. And it's just a pleasure to go back there all the time. So even if it wasn't a potential big payday, I would still go back and play.
So what is your? You are legendary status when it comes to televised game shows, known in this country and around the world. I mean, what's your wish list? What would you like to do with that?
I would actually, honestly, now that I live in LA and I've been doing this for 10 years or so now, like I really would just like to be a regular on a sitcom and just show up to the set every day. And that's my job. And, anytime it's still magical for me, anytime I'm on the lot and I have a parking space and I'm walking onto a soundstage, I never lose that thrill. So that would be my ideal thing to have happen, and once you get into syndication, the mailbox money is pretty good too.
So you've got the acting bug so that is what you would like the rest of your career to be on television, not competing for prizes, but doing some sitcom stuff. That's interesting,
right? A contract where I get paid, every 2 weeks, no matter what happens, instead of having to butt heads with Ken Jennings and James Holzhauer.
I'll leave her name out of it, but a very, very, very famous actress literally was crying on my shoulders at a get-together, a friend of ours right behind the Standard Hotel. He had a big condo there. And boy, 6 months later, she got the audition and then did 7-8 seasons on one of the biggest shows you've ever heard of. And, now has just mansions all over. It's amazing how, Los Angeles is very similar to the game show world. You're in there. And, what I tell people is living in Los Angeles, I did 17 years, 10 of which was at NBC Universal. And you'd be at a stoplight and, the person next to you could have like a $200,000 Lamborghini. And sometimes it certainly does happen where, it's overnight success after a decade of work.
Sure.
So what sort of things? I obviously pandemic shutdown. We have a lot of entertainers on this program. Are they doing mostly virtual auditioning right now? What are the process right now for sitcom production?
Yeah, it's a lot of self-tape stuff mostly these days because, what it's like at the casting offices. Usually there's 40 actors in a room who look exactly the same. That was one of the first things what was going on my first auditions that really grabbed me. It's like, oh no, that like it's the joke, but it's really correct. It's all like 6 foot tall white guys with brown hair and dark eyes, like who look exactly like me. It's crazy. So it's mostly a lot of, but I think the business was sort of going to a lot of self-tape anyway, just because it's kind of easier for everybody because they're just going to put you on camera once you show up the audition. And, I guess they would get a little chance to direct you or not, but that's usually just happening at the callback anyway. So if everybody can just go in their bathroom and, shoot a tape, it's a lot easier for the actors who don't have to drive across town. It's easier for the casting directors who, don't have to, run the room and, deal with all that stuff. So I think it's probably gonna stick once everything opens back up again.
People don't seem to realize that when they have ideas of Los Angeles. At the Silver Lake Film Festival, I directed their trailer at the ArcLight and all that. Before all the movies they showed what we directed for the festival, I directed it. And it was all about auditioning. And we just used one actress and put her, doubled it up in post. So there was 20 of her standing in line, and people laugh, ha, ha, ha. But it really does feel that way. You're like, boy, there's a lot of folks that are, they're looking for a type. There's a, when I would cast for things out there, things that I was doing, and it had, a fair payday, SAG minimum or da-da-da, I was averaging about 3,000 submissions per role. And it's really interesting. And, that's just a continuing thing. Los Angeles, before the pandemic, certainly was the most moved into and out of city in the world. And, you'd have a batch this season and then they'd go by the summer. How long have you been in Los Angeles trying on the sitcom shows?
Well, I've been in Los Angeles. It'll be 14 years in a couple weeks, which blows my mind. It doesn't seem like that long. And going out on auditions for maybe 8 or 9. So, yeah. It's
like I said, I did 17 years there. A good friend of mine just had his 20-year anniversary in Los Angeles and has booked some stuff. But yeah, it's, different than here in the Midwest where, we have a foot of snow on the ground right now. Los Angeles, did 2 years go by or was it 6 months or did, the weather's always pretty perfect. I had a sailboat in Marina Del Rey and I'd go out sailing on January. I'd be like, is it June? Is it Christmas? Well, that's fantastic. Well, so Brad, that's amazing. What if people want to learn more about you, or if the folks, friends of mine in the industry, want to know more about you? Do you have a website, or how do folks get a hold of you?
Check out my social media. Actually, I just joined Instagram. I'm an early adopter, clearly, and it's Brad Rutter official on that. And then I'm on Twitter too at Brad Rutter. So yeah, go there and you can find anything you need from me.
Well, and, I'll just give a pitch to all the casting directors out there. I mean, certainly there are talented, good-looking folks out there, but you could have the greatest of all time on your show. Why wouldn't they want to do that?
I am convinced that I have been called in to casting offices just because they want to talk about Jeopardy, which is great. That's the biggest thing, is getting your foot in the door, right? Yeah. So, it helps out quite a bit. One of
the branches of the division that NBC Universal I was with also handled a sweepstakes law and game show law. And the judges thing at Jeopardy, that was actually part of our team. They were the lawyer team, but they always had such good things to say about their production. They do Wheel of Fortune and stuff too, but always had such good things to say. And sadly, Mr. Trebek passed away this year. What were your memories and thoughts of him?
I mean, he was the best. I mean, what you saw on TV, that was him, although he could get a little heightened off camera because he always treated the game with the respect that it deserved, and it took it really seriously. So, like anybody could read the questions, but, he was just a intellectually curious guy, a man of the world who had really exacting and high standards. And like I said, anybody could read the cards, but you can't fake that. And that came through every night. And I think that's why he was so beloved. And that really was him.
Brad Rutter, folks, is the winningest contestant in American game show history. Also acting in Los Angeles. And I thank him so much for being on the show today. Brad, thanks so much, buddy.
My pleasure. Fun talking to you.
Folks, we're going to show a piece that I directed here with the cast of The West Wing for Justice for Vets, and then be back here with more of the program. Don't go anywhere.
A decade of war has taken an unprecedented toll on our men and women in uniform.
Most veterans return to our communities as leaders, but everyone's journey home is not the same.
Hundreds of thousands of our veterans are suffering from the trauma of war.
Without assistance, the downward spiral can be quick and destructive.
It doesn't have to be this way.
At Justice for Vets, we believe that every veteran should have the opportunity for treatment and restoration.
Justice for Vets is the only national organization dedicated to the expansion of veterans' treatment courts.
Veterans Treatment Courts hold our veterans accountable for their actions.
By providing structure, treatment, and mentoring, these courts help our veterans and their families get their lives back on track.
And Veterans Treatment Courts work.
We ask much of our men and women in uniform, and they ask little in return. It is our collective duty to come to their aid when they struggle on the home front. This not only honors their sacrifice, but makes our communities stronger.
A donation to Justice for Vets helps put a veterans treatment court within reach of every veteran in need.
A donation to Justice for Vets keeps veterans in treatment where they belong.
A donation to Justice for Vets shows your commitment to leaving no veteran behind.
A donation to Justice for Vets will help save lives, restore families, and rebuild communities.
Get involved and go to justiceforvets.org.
Veterans fought for our freedom. Now it's our turn to fight for theirs. Thank you.
What a fun show today. You know, we're a multifaceted diamond here. Greatest of all time, Brad Rutter. How fun is that? Again, you want to see him on The Chase. It airs Thursday nights on ABC. He's one of the hosts of that game show. But thanks to Brad Rutter. And also thanks to our buddy Shawn Boyd here. Winona Forever. It looks like a great project. I wish him nothing but the best on that. And next week, producer of this film, Stephen Adams. Rodney King is the film, directed by Spike Lee, produced by Stephen Adams. My friend is going to be on next week talking about that. If you missed Monday, Deborah Willis, her new book, The Black Civil War Soldier, check that out. Tomorrow, live from West Africa, honoring Black History Month, there is Bonnie Louise Brown with members of her family that she's over there visiting, going to be live from West Africa tomorrow. That blows my mind. I'm so excited about that. Next week, the chair of the Iowa Democratic Party, there he is, Representative Ross Wilburn. He is serving in the state legislature right now. He was on the Kamala Harris Iowa campaign. Of course, she's now our vice president. So they're both having an amazing year. End of this month, honoring Black History Month, is Gina Belafonte. She's there with her dad, Harry Belafonte. They run Sankofa.org. They're going to be talking about that organization, along with Dr. Franz Whitfield is going to be on the program. And then Monday, our special President's Day episode, folks, producer and writer Eli Addy. We used to write speeches for Al Gore. There he is with Mr. Gore, and then below that, some cast members from the West Wing. That is Monday's program with former Iowa State Representative Karen Derry is on as well. So much going on, folks. And as always, we're incredibly grateful to you for tuning in to our program. If you have suggestions, there's my email. It is actually my email, roske@youriowa.com. Let me know what you'd like to see on the program. If you would like to support this program or what else I should know about, reach out, stay in touch. And if you're in the Midwest, stay warm. It's actually supposed to get colder this weekend, which seems impossible. We're looking at temperatures -10, -12, -14. That's before wind chill, folks. So be safe. Bring animals inside. If you hear a neighbor has their dog outside, go knock on the door, be friendly about it. But we got to get animals inside. It is too cold. There's no conversation. It is too cold to have animals outside. So let's get them inside. And folks, we look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow morning for our live interview with Bonnie Louise Brown from Africa. So excited. We'll see you then.